Okay, so next we're going to get rid of this color cast, this magenta color cast. As you can see in the last video, we added the two curves layers to increase our tonal ranges and value ranges and everything else. Um, and we came up with quite a good image, but we did introduce this magenta tone. Now there are two ways to get rid of it. The most powerful way these days is opening up a new curves layer. We're going to call this one um, remove magenta. Okay, so that way it reminds us that we've got the magenta layer there as well, and that we know that, removing certain things will result in problems. So what we do, select that grey tool, eyedropper tool, and we're going to find an area of color that should have no other color in it. It should be neutral. So what we're going to do is press F8 or open the information palette. Now we've got these 2 points here, and they're here from before when we were doing the threshold layer. And it's very important that we keep a good eye on this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a third point to this area in here because that's quite grey. Now, point number 3 comes up down here. You can see number 3, red, green, and blue. Now, all these numbers here should be very close in value in order to create a grey. Once upon a time, you had to literally go through and work on the red, green, blue layer. And that was before they put these tools in and really worked on them. Now all you need to do is select that grey layer, and we can see here that the blue is far less than the red, and the green is somewhere between, so that tells me it's a red magenta colour. Even if I was colourblind, you could tell by the values here that it's a reddy magenta. These values run from 0 to 255, which is the size of a byte. The smallest bit of information on a computer. Okay, so we're going to click in here. Now watch what happens to these numbers when I click in there. You see how these three change, and now they're very close, 160, 157, 159, and it gives you the before. Okay, so it gives you what it was underneath this layer here. So if we look at that, we've really removed that magenta layer. Now the problem with this is that this might be a faithful rendition of what I see. However, the major problem with that is it's just not very warm, and it doesn't tell you that this was at sunset. Okay, and that dusky area. So what I want to do is just back that off. I don't want it to be quite as powerful as what it is. So in here, we can see there's a few options. This first drop-down box um, is all your different ways that this layer can interact with the layers beneath it. Okay, and we're going to cover that in a later date. But this is a really powerful tool and can help us out. Next to that is the thing that we want, and that's opacity. With fill, guys, just ignore that. Fill really only works with paint layers, and it's sort of an algorithm that judges how much of that paint affects the layer below it. So you don't need to worry about that when you're dealing with photographs so much, but opacity is the main one. If we drag the opacity down to 0, it's like the layer's turned off, which is that little eye icon over on the side here. If we drag it right up, that's at its most powerful, it's most opaque. So we want to make that layer a little bit translucent. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to back it off until I'm happy with it, and it becomes a subjective thing then. Now you notice every time I back that off, those colors will change. Those numbers will change over to the side until you're backed all the way off and they're the same value. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go right up. That looks a little too blue to me for a dusk photograph. So I'm gonna bring that back down to about 60%. 60% is always a good number to work off. It's a bit over half. So if we have a look, we just keep some of that magenta coming through, and that just helps warm up the image. So that's the first way that we can do it. The second way is by adding a color balance layer. And this is more of a subjective thing. So let's add that color balance layer. And over here on the right, you can see that we've brought up a new tab here. So that's your color adjustment box. Down here you can see the color balance. So what we want to do is work on it in this order: midtones, shadows, highlights. So what we're going to do to warm the image up, sorry, to cool this off, is we're going to have a look. Now, you can see here the red is very, very bright. So we're going to back the red off. Okay, we're going to bring that back until it's closer to that 160 mark. So we're going to bring it to around 160, 170, 160, 165. So let's back that right back. And why did I pick that number? It literally is arbitrary. You'll see why in a moment. Okay, so now we've got the green layer. So we're going to work on the green and magenta layer. Okay, and that's roughly around 160, but I'm just going to pop a little bit more green into it just to show you. Take a little bit away. See, so we're seeing that magenta in there. We can literally leave that at 0 for now because I'm seeing a bit of green coming through here that I don't want to see, and that's brought on by the cyan. So I'll just bring that back up. And then we're going to add a bit more yellow because we want to go a little bit away from the blue. No, we're going to add a bit more blue. Bring it up. So as you can see, that's pretty much spot on. So if we look here, the difference between the two is not that much. So you can make good objective decisions here, but color balance is more for subjective edits. So let's say that we'll go back to this one and we'll bring the opacity right up. So that's a little too cool for my liking. So what we can do with the color balance layer is actually warm it up. So what I'll do, let's delete that and start from the beginning. We'll click back and we'll go to color balance. So what I'm going to do here is I want my highlights to be quite blue. I like them to be a little bit bluey cyan. So I'm going to work on the midtones and shadows first, obviously, and I'm going to warm those up a little bit. So the magenta can probably go, you don't want too much, about -5, that looks good. Red, we want to bring it up to about +8. Actually, I would say not to touch the magenta channel on this one. 0, and then yellow will be a warmer color again. So we're going to add, bring that back to about -8. Generally speaking, to get a good balance, these two numbers should be the same for warmth. In the midtones particularly, and the shadows, you can push the red a little bit more. So we'll push the red just that little bit more. We might take it up. Oh, that's a bit far. 6. And we only want to touch a yellow. See, the yellow really comes in quickly. So we only want about 2. So you see, they're only minor adjustments. But from that grey point adjustment, we can just warm it up and make it feel a bit more like dusk, or you could play around with the magentas and get it feeling a bit more morningy and have it as a fake morning shot. The only other problem with this is that when you're bringing up midtones and shadows in a JPEG file, you will get these color distortions. Don't worry too much about them. We'll get rid of them later on when I'm dealing with dust and scratches and noise and stuff. So it's the same filter. But anyway, they're your two major ways of balancing color. A third way, which is a lot more traditional, would be to use a color filter or a photo filter. I won't put this up on the web page because this is way more advanced and has a lot more to do with photography. And these are just great. They're preset to what the filter would be that you buy for old cameras, or physical filters you'd buy. And in this case, this would be what I would use to warm this image up. So once I'd removed the magenta from that curves layer using the grey eyedropper tool, I would probably be more likely to create a photo filter with a warming filter LBA set to around 20-25%, and you notice that just gives you that same warmth that we added before, but a little more traditional. So you'll see color effects like this, which makes it a lot closer to traditional photography. Anyway, guys, that's it for the videos on color adjustments and color balancing. And doing a lot of the objective stuff. From here on in, we'll be doing a lot more subjective edits. Black and white video will be up soon. look forward to seeing you in class. Thanks, guys. Bye.